Well, hi, Rick. The Maryland Department of Health came out with a report talking about the official cause of death, and they said that both Maeve and her son, Gideon, drowned tragically, and I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone. Of course, they disappeared while they were out canoeing, chasing that ball, like you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and their bodies were found days later, a few days apart, in fact, but their bodies were only 2,000 feet apart in only 25 feet of water, about 2.5 miles from her grandmother's house. So basically what you described is what witnesses are describing. And in fact, her husband put out a long statement on Facebook talking about that day. They were quarantining at her mother's house, and they were kicking the ball in the backyard, kicked the ball into the bay, or into the water rather, and they jumped into a canoe with just the idea they were going to go out and fetch that ball. But somehow the wind picked up, or maybe it was already picked up. I'm not entirely sure, but they ended up not being able to get back to shore, and it pushed them faster and faster, more quickly out to the bay, where waves overtook them, and their overturned canoe was found around 7 o'clock. So the coroner's report said that they had both drowned, although he had complications from hypothermia. And when you hear something like that, it's heartbreaking all the way around. But it seems like it's one of those things that just shouldn't have happened, and truly another tragic accident for the Kennedy family.
You know, it seems, and I'm just taking a common sense approach to this, I also did read some of the reports that you're sharing with us. I know there was at least one eyewitness. He was a neighbor. He's the one who called police, and he says, I'm looking at them. They're in a canoe, and they're trying to paddle really fast, and eventually the police got there, but they couldn't find them. They couldn't find the canoe. The timing of all this does, and I'm not trying to say that there's conspiracy here or anything. I'm just trying to say it's funny how something like that can happen, and you would think all it takes for somebody to pick up the phone and call 911, and soon there's going to be a police officer, a helicopter, a boat, somebody to come. It seems like none of that was able to happen fast enough for them to be able to get help. It's somewhat curious, isn't it?
Well, it really is. And in situations where you have water accidents, though, I don't think it's entirely unsurprising, especially when you have weather conditions like that. It can change so quickly. Currents can take you out to sea so quickly. There's no telling how quickly their canoe actually overturned. You talked about the witness who saw that, but they were pretty much swept out into the bay before they even knew it, is what the coroner's report was saying as well. So it is bad timing. I mean, there they were quarantining with family, trying to make the best of an already bad situation, and then it just turned tragically worse.
You know, it's interesting because I have flipped over canoe. So have you. So has just about everybody watching this newscast. Canoes float. Canoes don't sink. So if you could... Again, that's where hypothermia comes in. But you can hang on to a canoe for a long period of time. But as a mother, if you're watching your son suffer, that's when things, I imagine, get really weird. What a story, Molly. You know what? Thanks so much for bringing it to us. We appreciate it. Good stuff. I'm glad you did.
Thanks, Rick. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to